Do we need to introduce ourselves?
All right, hi guys, my name's Bree Voto.
And I'm Bridget Crosato.
Hey guys, my name's Bridget Crosato. I drive an N70 Hilux.
And I'm Bree Voto and I drive a Nissan GU Patrol.
How do we meet?
It's a funny story. No, it's pretty simple. Instagram, online, social media brought us together. Bridget reached out to me one day. She wanted to start a YouTube channel and she just sort of asked me for a bit of advice.
Yeah, I have my own smaller channel, and when I was getting started, there's not that many women in the industry. So I wanted to reach out to the only girl that I was looking up to, and Vicky came to mind. And yeah, I messaged her and said, do you want to sit down and do a chat together? And 2.5 years later, now we're best friends.
Go. Bump it, bump it. You didn't bother to get me and I can go out of my fridge.
This is all me, Bridget Crosato, Vicky over there, aka Shit Mood.
How to get the name Vicky. It's a story that Bridget loves to tell even though she wasn't there. Long story short, we're in the outback. We're in Cooper Pedy with a bunch of mates. Pretty much we're in a bar, they got a bit drunk and some random walked in and they pretty much told this bloke that my name was Vicky and that I sold feet pictures.
For a living. It's like your alias, but the thing is that we get misunderstood for each other all the time.
Yeah.
The way it is online, I think, because our names ring the same a little bit, or they begin to be spelt the same.
Yeah, I get called Bridget, she gets called Bree.
Yeah, so to make it simple, now it's Bridget and Vicky.
Both Bridget and I have a YouTube show called Red Dirt Diary. I've been involved with the show for about 3 or 4 years now. My good mate Dan used to run it, but pretty much he decided he wanted to be a firefighter and leave the channel. And so pretty much I was left with myself as the only one that wanted to continue the channel, along with our videographer Brody. But I didn't want to do it alone. You know, Bridget we'd known each other for a little bit and I'd actually brought her on a Red Dirt trip before, and I knew that she was really passionate about this, we got along really well and we could start something different that sort of wasn't out there yet. So I decided to give her a call one day and ask her if she wanted to join Red Dirt with me and start what Red Dirt is today.
I love swimming fully clothed. Like, I'm not the greatest swimmer, but I'm just gonna start swimming fully clothed.
Wearing
the
a bikini on the
audacity of a girl swimming in a bikini.
I got into four-wheel driving because my older brother went camping one weekend. I was probably like 18 years old. By the time the sun came up the next day, I was completely in love with it. I didn't want to have to rely on being in the passenger seat of a boy. I didn't have a four-wheel drive myself at the time. So within a couple of months, I got myself a 105 Land Cruiser, which I loved. I built into it and started learning. But I just loved it, and I just wanted to get involved and be able to take care of my own car and travel around Australia. So I've had this like 8-year crash course on camping, mechanics and cars to get me to where I am today. My first car was an MG convertible sport. I accidentally crashed after having it for a week. And then I had a Mini Cooper, but like a really cool old one.
Oh.
Like, you know, like,
are they ever
like
cool?
the Mr. Bean one. No, it was cool, it was cool. But that's what I used to get around in. So I liked little fun cars until I started to like big cars.
Well, I guess it's pretty simple. I grew up camping with my family in school holidays, especially with my dad. Pretty much my dad and my uncle, everyone in my family had GQ patrols, and that's what we'd spend weeks in. And I fell in love with camping, being outdoors with the family. So then going through high school, I had a couple mates that actually had four-wheel drives, and I used to sit passenger. We used to go night wheeling, four-wheel drive parks on weekends and stuff like that, which I sort of then started to fall in love with the four-wheel driving side of things rather than just the camping. But it got to the point where I was sick of sitting passenger and I decided that I wanted to get my own four-wheel drive. So I then decided to save up and buy the Patrol that's behind me. Look, my first ever car was a Suzuki Vitara. It nearly killed me. It was a horrible car. I then decided, because I was trying to buy a four-wheel drive, I went to an auction and I brought a petrol 80 series Land Cruiser, which P-plates, worked a really crappy job. I couldn't afford to run it. So then deciding that I wanted to buy like a nicer four-wheel drive, I decided to sell all the four-wheel drives that I had and then just buy a little Kia Rio to run around in, save up some money. So that was my car for about a year while I was saving, and then I brought the Patrol. do like it. It was tough in the beginning, but I think I used to get confused with like being a female in the industry and that being tough, where I think it was just the whole online side of things. I feel like with a male or female entering this industry and putting your life online, it could be tough and sometimes a little bit harder if you're a female, because you're criticized a lot more. It's really hard to build up credibility because you're questioned a lot more. But like now where we are now, like I wouldn't change a thing, and I love being able to do what Bridget and I do, and that's why I really called Bridget up to start like this show, Red Dirt Diary, and turn it into what we have now to inspire more women to get out there and do it, because it is possible for other women. And I love, getting out there in my car and getting out there with the blokes and doing what they love, because, it is for everyone. And I've loved doing it, being a female.
From what I've seen in my small time of being here, the four-wheel driving industry has changed so much in the last, like you probably agree, the last 2 years, but especially the last 5 years. The amount of girls that I saw in my early days versus now, there's been like this huge influx of women. And I kind of want to keep that trend going, and I think that girls like us doing what we're doing sets an example that it is possible. But if I'm doing it, then that really shows that anyone can do it. And that's something that we hold really proud to us.
Here on Red Dirt, like, we're trying to show that women can get into the four-wheel driving industry. We also like to include all our fails, I guess you would call them, because like mistakes happen. It is what it is. Anyway, on the recent trip, I did have a mental breakdown on the most recent episode. So we did this track recently along the Barry Way. It wasn't anything too extreme, it was just a really steep incline. It was a bit wet, so there wasn't much traction. You couldn't really brake going downhill. My reductions aren't doing what they normally do. I can't use my brakes, so I just keep locking up and getting crossed up going down these hills. Anyway, I got very overwhelmed and started to get scared because my vehicle wasn't performing like it normally does, which then led to me getting, halfway down this track, feeling had lots of anxiety. Anyway, long story short, I was like, something's going wrong. I have no drive in the front. I thought my front diff might be blown or something, I don't know. Turns out I was doing this whole track in two-wheel drive. By the end of it, I was just that overwhelmed, and then I felt like an idiot for my mistake that I kind of had a little mental breakdown about it.
But it's funny because usually it's me. Like, I'm the one that's always making the hilarious mistakes. I look great in that episode. Right, they're fixable problems. I put petrol into a diesel for fun.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched the budget build challenge, like our build episode, you need to go watch it, because I spent like 2 weeks building this car. Bridget finally rocks up in the final hours to only then put petrol in our diesel.
Righto boys, I think it's time that we fess up and tell you what really went wrong yesterday.
We finally got the car like running perfectly. Going in town to put the diesel in it.
I filled up the car. I got out of the car, went to go prime it thinking that it was dirty fuel and it was spitting heaps of white smoke out the back.
I asked Bridget for the fuel receipt that she filled up with.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that.
Shit happens.
A few years ago, I used to work in environmental care, changed around the industry a little bit, worked in erosion control and bush regen. And I don't know if you guys remember, there were the bushfires in Australia that like pretty much started to take over the whole East Coast. And one of the regions that I worked in had a lot of bushfires in it, and my workload started to reduce. It wasn't long after that, COVID kicked in. There was barely any work. I was in lockdown like everyone else, unemployed, and to be completely honest, I couldn't afford my Land Cruiser anymore. It was a petrol, it was costing me a lot, and the lack of money coming in because of COVID and no job meant that I had to get rid of it. So I wanted to downgrade to something that was still a four-wheel drive that I could have fun in when COVID was over, but something that was more affordable and a little bit more simple. So I've got my Hilux and I'm in COVID lockdown in the garage, and I'm very, very, very bored. So I started just doing a lot of the modifications to the car myself to save on money. So I thought, screw it, I may as well try to do it and learn myself. And I thought to document it, more so mainly for me, just a project to fill my 3-month lockdown COVID time. But I was really falling in love with working on cars, learning and doing YouTube. So I took the big risk and kept going, and I'm so glad that I did now, because now this is my job. Only recently I do this full time and I love it. Like, I can't believe I can say this, but I love it more than my old job, and I would have never thought that that would be possible. Yeah, complete 180, but I'm very happy with where I am today.
All right guys, so if you're actually interested in going into more depth about myself and Bridget's vehicles, then stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, because we're going to do a rig rundown on both of them.
And you guys definitely don't want to miss this one, because despite public opinion, the N70 will beat the Patrol in all of the challenges that Sam has waiting for us.
You never beat me in any challenges. I don't know why you're getting the hopes up.
No, I'm better at you than snowboarding, so 1 to me, 0 to you.
Snowboarding has nothing to do with cars.
Guys, if you like this video, make sure to click up here to subscribe to the channel. Click over here for our latest merchandise on our website. And down below, or to the side, I'm not sure where it is our last episode. If you haven't watched it, click on that to check it out. See you guys.